Okay, it's starting to record. Okay, shall I start? I heard the recording. Okay. 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 Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So I am Seema Rampasad. I work at the British Library's Business and IP Centre in London. You might want to take a note of my email because I can send you a copy of the slides, or if you decide to visit on your own, I can certainly show you around, provided that I'm actually in the office, because I am working sometimes at home. And there's always someone to help you there anyway. So if you turn up, you can always get the support. So this logo says your idea, our support, your successful business. So the British Library has always been known for getting collections from from legal deposit, things that are legally published in the UK. But about 16 years ago, we made a change to actually support businesses a bit more. I myself have been a business librarian for about 28 years. I worked for large companies, but I realized that the Business and IP Centre was great for startups. And my colleague and good friend Neil has been working there for most of the 15 years when it became the Business and IP Centre. So entrepreneurs in London and businesses were accessing our collection, but they actually wanted space, they wanted support, but they also wanted access to market research and expertise to help them develop even a product or an idea. And that's something that we changed about 15 years ago. For those of you who see the co-working spaces as you walk around London, this is something new. It wasn't really existing about 15 years ago. So we do have space as well in the British Library, and I'll come on to mention all of those things. So that's a brief introduction of the Business and IP Centre. We do have resources and support available, and we have an actual successful network. So I'm going to come on to that. We do offer specialized business research. So the bigger you get in your businesses and your ambitions and endeavors, and you can't come into the British Library, we do research for people at a cost. And we do have specialist databases available. But apart from that, the British Library has always had a patent library, patent collection for inventions and innovations, and they're very, very interesting to look at in terms of artistic as well. I had to do a research recently on something called a physiograph or something, where you do a silhouette of a person and you draw that person using the invention. This was in the 19th century, and I only discovered that, and there was actually a patent for that. So we do still get those sort of inquiries for inventions. There was another lady, she's doing a PhD, and she was looking at wallpaper design. So intellectual property has always been something that we did, but people forget that aspect of invention and innovation. We do also have the British Library doesn't just stand alone in the Business and IP Centre. We're holistically covering different subjects, obviously the humanities, the arts, sound archive, fashion collections, in terms of the Vogue archives and manuscripts and magazines, social sciences and newsrooms, various aspects of creativity that we help people with. And we do have guides to help you, and I'll come on to tell you how you can access the resources. So if you've got an idea, we help you to turn it into a business. And that's something that, as I said, we've been doing for like 15 years. It probably happened organically before, but this is the first time in 15 years that we actually support them with a program of specialist databases, expertise, as well as programs to grow your company. And as I was speaking to some of your lecturers, they would tell you that the British Library has always been a bit different and snooty in the way you access it, especially like 15, 20 years ago. It has changed, and we're there for everyone to do research. Entrepreneurs, academics, commercial, creatives, even for personal research in terms of family history. In the Asian and African studies, you have the Indian Office archives. You have also the UK history guides. So for any type of research you want to do, even pre-idea stage, if you're trying to be inspired. And it's right next to King's Cross. It took me about 15 minutes to get here just today. So it's easy and accessible to get to. It's right at the heart of central London. And if you want to attend or get a reader's pass, which you need to come in to do into the reading rooms, not the public areas, not the exhibitions, not the events, but to come in and do your research, you need a reader's pass. And I can tell you more about that afterwards. You just need to say that you want to use the Business and IP Centre, or you want to do research, or you're an academic and you want to use the collection. They're not so snuffy as they used to be before. And it really is more inclusive and accessible. And also, it's not far from here. We are aware that we're quite London Southeast based, but there's also our other site, which is based in Boston Spa. And there are plans to actually transform that area as well. It's also part of the whole leveling up agenda for the North. It's where our collections go in the long term in terms of archive. I haven't got a photo today, but it's actually in the middle of the countryside with several buildings around it in Yorkshire. And they also are planning an open reading room. They have an open reading room at the moment, but they're obviously hoping to develop it more in terms of the North and access to it in the North. And we also have a network with the Business and IP Centre. So that's something that you can actually, we collaborate with other libraries. So as you can see, we have 19 Business and IP Centres across the UK, and they're easy to get to. I think there's one only in Glasgow at the moment, but obviously there's the Edinburgh, the National Library of Scotland, and other support for businesses in Scotland and also in Wales. But in terms of our branding, the 15 years has made us really successful in projecting that brand and offering that support for businesses. One of our founding members of the Business and IP Centre said, you're never far away, like maybe 30 kilometers or 50 kilometers from a Business and IP Centre. So if you want to have that support. And most of it, of the users who engage with us are women. Some are, sorry, this is where my contact lens, I have to step back. And quite a few of them are actually Black, Asian, minority and ethnic. We have disabled customers accessing our service as well. And a lot of them are aged 35 and under. So this slide is a little bit old, but I think that probably is definitely the right trajectory with the statistics that we've done. We've created about lots of jobs. I can't see the figures, but thousands of jobs, because we've had programs as well. And we call it a democratizing of entrepreneurship across the UK. For those of you who might remember things like Business Link, we kind of replaced them a bit in terms of access to support. And the photograph on the left is actually, well, my left, is the Business and IP Centre reading room. So it is a little bit still like a library, and it is a working library. So like this morning, I was talking to someone who was actually researching textiles, and another gentleman who wanted to access our webinars in the reading room. So we do talk. It's not like if you go to the rare books and manuscripts, you know, people are very quietly studying or researching. And it's really is a great environment if you want that space to do those sort of things. And the building itself is amazing. It was highly budgeted, and it was opened in 1999. All the reading rooms in 1999, and it's a great space to be inspired and learn with other people. So the other program that we have is actually the Innovating for Growth program, which is for growing business or people that have actually grown. And we've helped with EU funding companies that are successful, but we've encouraged them to grow. So there was someone called Sabina Motorsan. She does bridal wear. And she obviously was already existing, she was established, but she actually wanted to grow her organization. So that's one example of someone who's actually engaged in that program and was able to grow her company using specialist expertise from like product developers, marketers, consultants, accountants, funding experts to actually get that extra support to grow her company. And Sabina still exists. I think she was one of the first persons I recognized used the program, but there's other people who've used the Business and IP. For those of you who live in London, if you go around the streets and you see the cycle hoop, which is the bicycle hangers, That's created by a gentleman called Anthony Lau. He actually used the center as well to create that invention, to patent it, to monetize it, to market it. And he used obviously the support that we have in the center to get that. So how can we help you? We also, obviously, being the British Library, being a library, we have access to paper information, but we also have several databases, which I will come on to. And I have a list of them here, which I'll leave. And if you want to find out what we have, you can certainly see them. So we changed from that just traditional library when you think back to about 15 years ago, and we offer workshops. So obviously with the pandemic, we have about 30 program of workshops, free mainly, to access. Most of them are online now, but we're hoping to go back to that hybrid model maybe in July. And they cover things like startups, business planning. We also have a fashion consultant. I think she does specific things on fashion. We have a food consultant. We have a book publisher in Rajasthan. So things that you might need, just check and see whether we do it. Obviously, every aspect of your business has some intellectual property in terms of like design, copyright, your trademark, and especially if you're creating a product itself, you might be patentable. So all of these things, we have run programs to help you with those. And we also realized that people wanted one-to-one advice and clinics to speak to us. So I was trained like a librarian, but obviously over the years, we offer one-to-one clinics, which is like an hour with us to discuss your business idea or to how to navigate the services that we have, or which specialist expert partner we can put you in touch with, be it a legal firm or a product developer. And we do big events as well. So we have Inspiring Entrepreneurs, networking events like Speed Mentoring, Inventors Club. We have a dedicated networking session for people of color, especially women of color, in terms of their safe space. And various sort of networking opportunities for you as a business when you begin to realize, oh, I need to let people know about what I'm doing, and also to encourage people to buy into your product or services that you're offering. So there are lots of workshops. We actually rebranded them recently and coming out of some of the situations with the pandemic. So they're called Reset and Restart. So if you look at our website, we have about 10 of them covering how to use social media, how to get funding, why should I quit my job and start my business? So there are too many. I tend to not remember all of them. And we tend to cover the lean startup methodology, the term of failing fast. So you don't want to start a business where you're halfway, you've gone halfway past the line and you realize, oh, this is not working, or I need to change things, and you've already spent lots of time and money. So we do workshops on what next to my business idea, encourage you to think about that lean startup approach where you fail fast. So if something's not working, you get to know quicker, you have more engagement with the people who are engaging with your brand or your product or services. And there are books written on that. So those are some of the things we encourage in terms of methodology. We have the business model canvas. I'm not sure, I think I do have a slide on that. So we encourage you to actually innovate, but also do it very in iterations and engagement in the very beginning. So we have lots of workshops covering every aspect of actually starting your business. One of the things we probably don't have is like how to register your company, or and that's something we assume that you would do online, or how to patent a product. But we do have partnerships with the Intellectual Property Office, or people we could point you to who can help you with the practical aspects of it. So the online databases, there are about 30 of them. They are really expensive. For those of you who don't know the list of them, some of them, one report might cost about £30. Sorry, £2,000. I would say £2,000. The Mintels and the Passport. Cobra is not so expensive, but it's probably one of the most useful. It's actually called Complete Business Reference Advisor, and it has various sort of business opportunities written into it. So like if you're setting up a fashion retailer, a graphic designer, any type of design, music creator, It's really great for the arts. Unfortunately, I can't go into it live now. And they have normally general synopsis of the trends in that sector, the legal requirements you need, what public licenses you might need to get, especially like if you're in food, if you're going to a food related business, you might need to get safety checks and safety qualifications. If you're consultant as well, if it's something that's medical based, it tells you all the things that you need to do to start your business. Obviously, it has information on like illustrators and designers, shoe shoe designers, and various things. So have a look and see if some of them are related to you. I've got the arts and craft one here, and some of the reports on there cover things such as a craft bakery, arts and craft gallery, arts and craft tutor, art supply shop, antiques dealer, photographer, makeup artist. So it covers all of the things you might need to think about if you're starting your business. And we have Mintel. So like Mintel is also market-based research. They're written by analysts who've actually looked at the industry over long periods of time. So they've got that great insight into the sectors you might be going into, and consumer behaviors and topics that might be of interest to what business sector you're going into or what you're looking at. They're written really clearly. When we have people who are developing their business plan, once they want to get their business going, we encourage them to look at Mintel because it's written very clearly and also has facts and figures, which will take you ages to actually do yourself. So you can actually use some of the content that you can get from the British Library to put in your business plan. And when you start pitching for your business as well, you I was just telling your lecturers that I am working on a project called Project Remake, which is for ex-offenders, which is now known as returning citizens who actually wants to start their own business. So they actually have to get solid information to pitch to Dragon Den style. That was last week Thursday. So the facts and figures when you're looking for funding or if you're pitching to get people to actually believe in your idea and also support your idea, even if it's crowdfunding or crowdsourcing, information held in these databases are really useful because then you know you've done your research and you've actually got a wider perspective on the topic you're looking at. And also for people who like we have other universities who come to see us and other colleges, and some of the feedback we've gotten is that people who've used this content do tend to have the greater insight that's available in them. So that's the market research. There's about 13 of them in the British Library, and I'll leave a list for you to have to know which ones are covered. The one-to-one clinics, we cover everything from your business plan to the logistics to making you think about your intellectual property and also the monetization of your business idea, because people have great ideas and great hobbies, but we need to know whether it's commercially viable. And one-to-one clinics is something that my colleagues and some of our business partners offer. Some of them charge, like the product developer, he charges £10 to make sure that people do turn up, because sometimes he would make himself available and they don't turn up. And he used to have them at the center, but now he does them online. We also have like a specialist marketer. So if you're thinking about SEO or your website or digital marketing, I mean, I do the social media workshop for startups, but I don't know everything about SEO. And it depends on what you need. We have partnerships to help you. So this is where our free one-to-one clinics in intellectual property or the business aspect is available to you if you're starting your business. So do spread the word, and hopefully we'll be able to support you. So when you're starting your business, we've come up with some of the general aspects that you might be thinking of. And I still do an hour and a half workshop on this. So if you would like to attend and hear more on what I cover, it's called an Introduction to Business Information, and it's free to access. I do it every month. If it's not me, it would be one of my colleagues. And it's, the things that we cover is what are the practical aspects of starting up. So the corporate database is excellent for that sort of question, but also other sources in the library. What is the demand for my product or services? Someone has a great idea, but they don't necessarily know it's going to make money. And that's where we ask you to iterate and to think the lean startup way. Don't go too beyond and spend too much money and time and realize it wouldn't work. And who are my competitors? What are they doing? What's different? What's similar? How can I differentiate myself from my competitors? What's my USP? Where are they based? And you learn from your competitors as well. And also they keep you in check. what's the competition? What are they doing that can make me actually, keep up to date with trends, but also stand out and be unique? And how do I keep up to date? Well, Brexit was a game changer, austerity was a game changer, and now the pandemic is a game changer. So, keeping abreast of, cost, rising cost, regulations, it's something that we all have to think about with your business. And also to make sure that you're protecting your idea. Your idea, is not going to be infringing on. I used to have a friend who's an artist, and she felt that her paintings were actually being copied. So she came to use the business and IP Center to learn to protect her work more, and also be aware of the law and the things and how people were actually might be infringing her rights and also using her prints and so on without permission. So you can do things to protect your work. Copyright is automatic, but as a creative person and people in arts and design, you need to make sure that you ensure that people are aware of your intellectual property rights. And obviously, you need to check that you're not infringing other people's rights as well. And that's something that we do. We do workshops on copyright for business, and we have guides to help you support that as well. So I mentioned this earlier. So when we have our clinics, one of the first thing we encourage people to do is to have a business plan. But we can't do a business plan in an hour, and we actually aren't experts at actually getting to all the finer points about a business plan. So we encourage people to actually go off and do their business plan. There's a guide to doing a business plan. We give them a template, and there's an expert at the British Library who does business plan. Once you've filled it in and you've realized you might have gaps or you might need to cross-check your idea with an expert, we have that expertise at the British Library. But when we see people or when we discuss businesses as an idea or as a growing business, we use the business model canvas. So the business model canvas is actually something that was created by a management consultant called Alex Osterwalder, and he realized that these are the 9 pillars that people are looking at when starting their business. And one of the things you might hear when you start going into larger organizations, or you start pitching for business, or you start tendering or trying to market things, is the value. What value are you bringing to your customers, be it a service or a product or a design or something like that? So this is really great at teasing out the value proposition. So you might be something niche in the market, your designs might be unique, it might be solving a problem, it might be something that you know someone's going to buy into because it doesn't exist. So these are some of the reasons why the value proposition and the business model canvas is useful. And then you start to use it in terms of the resources that we have. So customer segmentation, you're looking at who your customers are, the demographics, the location, the income that they have, where they're based. If you're targeting children, you have to target their parents. If you're targeting hoteliers, you might need to think about their suppliers as well. So it really makes you think laterally, not just narrow-mindedly. And obviously the channels, the digital channels that you might thinking of, and what sort of customer relationship you have. In the last few years, there's a growth in membership services. So people might, like cards being sent every month or designs being sent in post every month. So these are all things that have changed because of disruption in technology, as well as the way that consumer behavior has changed. And then on the left-hand side, my left, you have things like, your key resources. Your key resources will be your intellectual property. It'll also be your expertise. It could be the capital you've gotten from your funding streams. And then key partners. So that's, you might be looking for to buddy up with a physical space. You might be looking for a manufacturer. You might be looking for a supplier, or you might have alliances. So you can find that sort of information. Obviously, you might know it intuitively, but if you need to find those sort of things, we have company information at the British Library. And then the key activities, obviously branding, promotion, building your business, that's a big part of it. And this is where that's at the startup stage, but this same business model canvas can be used at a larger, as the company grows. It could be used for large organizations. And the best thing is actually looking at the cost structure and the revenue, because you need to cross-check these things and make sure your idea is commercially viable. So the business model canvas is freely to access online. We also have I'm going to leave some guides for you on how you can access the Business and IP Center, but it's actually a guide on lean startup. It has videos on and tips and hints and tips on actually starting your business the lean startup way, and the tools and resources available to help you. So that was about your business idea and how to get it going, how to start. And it's really useful. I used to work for big corporate libraries and big organizations, and that value question is still being used. And something I didn't mention is that I'm actually president-elect for Global Library Association, which has presence in 53 countries. And we're always seeking to give value. And that value question is really important in any organization. And it's something that you might hear as you go across in your journey, in your business or career. In business research as well. So a lot of the things I've covered is like desk research. You're going to come into the library or your library here and do your desk research and find out things on what's been published already, be it the internet or printed version. But we also encourage people to do field research. So asking those questions. And as you actually grow and iterate and develop your business, field research is really useful in getting rich feedback and engagement on how your product or services is developing. So going out into pop-up shops, going out into festivals, giving someone a promotion to engage with your item. These are all ways of testing your business idea and getting that rich feedback from your customers. And this is part of the customer discovery aspect of your business. And there's a gentleman called Steve Blank. So he was in the tech industry, and he has a book called The 4 Steps to the Epiphany. And and uh, and he realized, because again, like Alex Osterweiler, they consult large companies. He realized that a lot of the tech companies that he was advising were doing 4 things. They were actually going from customer discovery, so finding out who their customers are, understanding them, talking to them, engaging with them, and also getting that rich feedback from them, to customer validation, where they actually buying your product or services, or actually saying, yes, I would like that, or engaging with you, be it a product or services. That's the customer validation stage. That's the second step. And then the third step is where you've had a customer creation, that you know who they are, you kind of know where they live, you know what sort of income they have, you know what their tastes are like. It's not all geared towards your customer. I know as creatives, as arts and design students, you might have your own passions and your own imagination and own vision. But in terms of understanding who is your fan or who's actually going to buy that from you is really a great aspect as well. And obviously that becomes the business side of what your creativity is. And then you have the company. So it's up to you, obviously, as artists and designers, whether you create a company, but that's your business really. So these are the stages when you start to actually commercialize your ideas, what you might be going through. And if you do want to hear more about this, I'd discover it more on teasing out those customer discovery aspect in the workshop that I call What Next to My Business Idea. So desk research. So it's the things that you do, obviously, using published materials, be it on in the internet or in books. And some tips that we might have for you is how reliable is the source. I mean, being a library and information professional, my peers in the field always encourage people to think about fake news. I think that's one thing Donald Trump has done for us. He's made us aware of fake news. So think about whether it's fact or opinion, from whose perspective was it written, is it biased, and when was it published. As I mentioned before, market research kind of goes out to date if you don't keep abreast of what's going on in the market, how prices are being affected, how regulations have changed. So you need to look at all of these things in doing your desk research. It's a little bit different with historic analysis, or sort of interrogating historical records and stuff like that. It might be factual at that time, but if in terms of your business, you need to know what is published and who's written it, and whether the source is useful or not. And this is what you obviously do research in the Business and IP Center. For those of you who haven't been to the British Library, it is unbiased, but it's actually quite an amazing building to come in and see. We have obviously the rare books and manuscripts, we have maps, we have the sound archive, we have stamps, we have digital content, and the actual subject areas are divided. We are business and intellectual property, but opposite us is social sciences. Then we have the science rooms, And there was actually an exhibition when I first started. She still actually works in that field. She's got a PhD in physics, and she did an exhibition on where art meets science across the British Library. So it was actually using fabrics into like sculptures or paintings, and geometrics and things like that. So she's no longer there, but she did a great exhibition on that. And I could put you in touch if you really know who she is. Who she is. I think she works in one of the really great science organizations still. So this is where we are. There's always someone to help you. So if you visit the British Library, you get to read a part and you want to do research. I'm not there all the time to welcome you, but obviously there's my colleagues, and where that gentleman is standing, there's always someone there to help you with the databases. They can be a bit tricky if you're building a list of suppliers, or the market research is easier to use. Most of you will be probably digitally aware of digital content, but sometimes we do get people who need to navigate, or even like your login doesn't work and you probably still need our support, like a lady did this morning when she was researching textiles for upholsteries. So this is where we are. We do have startup books, and they're mainly things like, business topics, like, I want to be a fashion entrepreneur, I want to open a coffee shop. The lean startup books are there. We have business planning books, financial planning. We have a whole section on management books of the year, because we do the management books award. So if you're looking at, becoming a manager of a gallery or things like that, it has that sort of information held there as well. And some of these are legal deposits, so we automatically get them if they're published in the UK, but we actually have a budget to buy books on this area. And everything from marketing to start, whatever sort of like soft skills you might need in starting a business. One thing I haven't said is that the British Library actually is only a reference library. So books you can't take out, but certainly articles like the EBSCO Business Source Complete, you actually have access to it, and you can actually get that remotely. But if it's an article, obviously you can print it, or you can actually email it to yourself if the database allows you to do it. But we have a photocopier, and we obviously can copy within rights, and you can use photographs for physical content. Digital content, we still can't let you take photographs because there's digital rights to those. I've already mentioned the COBRA database, but in terms of creativity, it has things that are really useful for you, such as an arts and craft, copyright, business planning, what sources of funding is available, how can I apply for a grant, and really, really funny things like a B&B horse for a horse B&B if you want to have your horse in a B&B, or decluttering your service and things like that. And I always come across really unusual aspects of businesses that people are doing, and it's something like, oh, that's a great idea. And we do give you content free of charge, up 10 a week. We can download it as a PDF and email it to you free of charge. If you live in London, especially East London, try your local borough as well, because we did a startup in London library project where we went out into the borough, a bit like what I'm doing now, and we encouraged them to start their business. It was a 3-day program, and some of the local boroughs in East London actually have access to the COBRA database. Is this Tower Hamlets? Yeah, so Tower Hamlets, if you live in Tower Hamlets or work in Tower Hamlets, you might be able to get COBRA from at home on your desktop. Market research. So market research is obviously a big aspect of what you should do when you're starting a business. So look at your customers. We encourage you to think about who they are, that whole profiling, look at the competition, the market for your product, and trends and forecasts. So the market research sources that we have are really used to it. Like, for example, Mintel has attitude to this, or trends and changes, or executive summary, or brand launching. And these are all useful information to help you to understand your market. And these about, how many are here? 4 and 4, 8. So I'm just going to briefly cover some of the things that how you can interrogate our services. As I said before, most of them are really expensive. We have about £5 million definitely worth of content for business, just in the Business and IP Centre. But when you think of the network, the BIPC network across the UK is like 50 million, access to 50 million pounds worth of resources. So IBIS World has things like manufacturing, anything in the UK, gives you great insights on industry performance, products and companies in that sector. eMarketer is great for commercializing your idea, so like your online and digital presence. But little things like platforms like, TikTok. What are the users on there? What are the age groups? Has it reached saturation point? That sort of thing, or digital trends. Um, so look at the marketer for any sort of digital or online sort of questions that you may have. Euromonitor, great for consumer behavior, who's buying what, and it's a global database as well, like wine consumption in South Africa, or shampoos in Ireland. All those sort of things are available from there, and it's a global database. Because when you're starting your business, it's very hard for you to get that big, wider global data yourself. So these companies do it for you, and obviously they recognize. So if you were to put it in your pitch or were to put it in your business plan, it's something that that they would realize you've done your research. And global data, I did have a student from South Bank University who came in to use global data, and he was interested in looking at is that the right word? Crickets and the worm maggots. Yeah, maggots as a base of a protein. And when he asked me that question, I was like, oh, well, where am I going to find this information? But it was actually global data. It talks about various communities who actually do eat cricket and protein in the form of maggots. And he was actually doing a business idea at South Bank University for that. And there's another lady who is one of our growth programs. She actually lives in the borough where I am, and she had a gin business, and she wanted to actually explore next trends in gin, the drink. So she was looking at gin innovations and flavors. And yes, I found that information in Global Data Online. It's a really good database because it looks at it from the retail point of view as well as the consumer point of view. And Mintel, I've mentioned how great it is. EMS, EMI, EMIS is Emerging Markets Information Services. So anything across the globe that's really niche or really new, I tend to check on there. Again, it's a global database. Someone was asking me for air absorbent pads, and I didn't know where to find it, and I checked on there. Local Data Online analyzes your high street. So if you're looking at what shops are in your high street, how many arts supplier shops in a particular area, how many galleries in a particular area, you can find that information from Local Data Online. What it does do, it tells you what your competition is like. So if there's none there, you can actually think about going into that sector or that area. And if there's lots there, it tells you there's a demand for it. And that actually, I live in Waltham Forest. There was only one pizzeria about 10 years ago, and now there's like 8, honestly. And obviously it's telling you there's a demand for pizza. So gives you an idea like, oh yeah, people are buying pizza there. So maybe it's not so bad to go in that area. And Frost & Sullivan, sort of high tech, high costly research that you probably can't do yourself. So healthcare, smart technology, Internet of Things. Frost & Sullivan does that really well. And sometimes it's so techy that I can't even understand what they're trying to get at. I have to say to the customer, well, I did find things, but I don't know if it was relevant to you. Come in and research it yourself. And one of their reports is like £3,000 because it's so high tech and high value in what they research. So that's just a few of them, and they're only available. I'm not just fibbing, it really is only accessible publicly for free at the British Library with your Reader's Pass. So we do keep up to date as well. We encourage you to look at news. So being the British Library, we have access to journals, we have access to newspapers as well. And it helps you with your business idea in terms of looking at research, looking at new areas, and seeing the mood of a particular industry. We have news databases, so things from the Times and FT, and anything with a paywall will go into Factiva, but I think by midday for the content. So if you want to do research, looking back over a period of time for quality information or by topic, it actually gives you intelligence as well. It tells you what is predicting what is being written about with graphs and fancy things, so you know how many hot topics are mentioned on a particular topic that you might be looking for. I understand that you might have EBSCO Business Source Complete. It's one of the few resources that you can access outside the library, and it's great for really niche things. And we do encourage people to use Google News, but just as I said, be aware of the source and whether you want to quote it on your business plan. We ask you to look at companies to do competitive investigations, sourcing materials, and also as you start to grow your business, you will be looking to partnership with other companies, so B2B or customers who might be interested in your idea as well. So this is one of the reasons why we have about 5 company databases, and this is the way people would use it for their business idea or their business planning. Some of them are Fame and Orbis. It's owned by the same company. Fame is for the UK companies and Ireland. Orbis is for global companies. So if you're looking for a source, something from China or Brazil, you can use Orbis. Fame, obviously, it tells you, anything in the UK postcode. The information's kind of correct because it's coming from company's house where companies have to register. Experian does the same thing. They do personal credit checks as well, but they also have a database called Market IQ, which we have access to. And Compass, so manufacturing, handbags, suppliers, distributors, any sort of manufacturing, medical, technology, wood. If you're going down to paper level, if as an art designer or design, if different types of glass, different types of paper, different types of shapes, all those sort of materials, you can find on Compass, and Compass is a global database if you're looking for suppliers and manufacturers or distributors of a particular type of substance that you might be looking for. So that's more the business and the market research side, company side, but we encourage you to think about intellectual property, whether your item is patentable, and whether you should protect it, especially if it's a moving part. Things like Coca-Cola, they all, they have so many patents for the design, the trademark, the shape of the bottles, the copyrighted things that are written on their thing, their labels, on their websites, and so on. So each company will have something that's intellectual property that they need to protect. We have trade directories as well, being the British Library. So looking at media contacts, looking at companies who might give funding for trust, and any sort of trade organizations that might be able to support you and your business to grow. We still get them because we're the British Library and they're legally published. So we have a large collection still of trade industry, and that's where we're kind of unique on what we can give you. But as I said, we are the British Library, so we have support across the library. So the social sciences will have access to all the social sciences, health information, population, demographics, local government information. Someone came in as well for legal information, and that's held in the social sciences. Humanities, so creative writing, culture, history, art, sound archive, film as well, film history. It's all available in there. And the science, obviously, for, as I said, products and services, British standards for creating your item, and technical publication. I just want to tell you a story. I don't know if I have a picture here, but there's a gentleman called Adam Pritchard. He went to Thailand and he actually had pomegranate juice. Pomegranate juice, and this is about 15 years ago. And he came back to the UK and he realized that he couldn't find it here in the market in any of the shops. So he wasn't daunted. He was from a financial sector, so he actually saw that opportunity, and he came into the Business and IP Center to actually research pomegranate, the demand for pomegranate juice. And he wasn't daunted. He did find other juices like orange juice and apple juice and so on in the collections that we had in the Business and IP Center. But he actually went to the science room and searched the topic. And in the science room, he found that, it had antioxidants in it. It's great for diabetes. And I think it's got another property. I haven't got the picture, so I forgot. And that's still currently on the label. And that was 15 years ago. I think his turnover is like 14 million. There's now a demand for pomegranate juice here. The supermarkets are probably copying him. And that's something that he probably picked up because he didn't just focus on the business sources that we had. He actually went across the library. And we have that happening as well, where people, you walk along the streets in London, you see lots of cycle business. So we're going to have about cycle business, but the mechanics of it, the well-being issues, all of those things are going to come through in some of the social sciences and the medical information that we have. So don't be daunted if you don't find any information on the topic that you're trying to research for business or arts. It just means it's an opportunity, or maybe not, someone's not doing it. So we do have about 25 guides on different topics. Some of them will be arts and design related, which gives you an idea of what we hold in the library. And most of them actually have a website where website sources for trade industry, trade information, where you can actually go and look for research. But generally, you do have to come in because of the license and rights agreements that we have to come in to use the resources at the center. But it just definitely gives you a guide on if it's worth it coming in or not. You will need a reader's pass to come into the reading room, because once you have access to the British Library reading room, you have access to all of the reading rooms, the rare books, the stamps, the maps, and we need to know who's coming in for those reasons. And that's one of the reasons you have to have a reader's pass. It is easier to get. You just have to say you want to do business research or you're in studying, and you just need to share 2 forms of ID, one with a signature and one with your address. So driver's license, bank statement, a utility bill, bank statement. It's a lot more accessible than it used to be. And I wanted to end about in terms of like innovation for something. So if you look at examples of intellectual property, you have design, novels, inventions, software, music, know-how, logos, art, and broadcast. If it's an innovation of something, it can likely be protected. So if any sort of like creativity that you're doing, you need to know that it can be protected. And these are the forms of IP that you would use. So like registered design, copyrights, patent rights, copyright in the sense for obviously software, but also creative rights like in music, copyright in terms of broadcasting, copyright in painting, trademarking your logo and your name and things like that. And there might be trade secrets as well in terms of flavors or know-hows that might be only useful to you. So if it's an innovation of something, it can be protected. So these are some rights that you would have as creative artists and in arts and design. They all will, all of them might relate to you, or just some of them, but you will have rights. So obviously, like the Oyo cup, he created that cup, collapsible water or juice cup. The bit in the middle wasn't done before, and he was able to patent it. That was about maybe 10 years ago, when pollution wasn't actually talked about a lot. So that's the reusable cup. And he took about 5 years to launch his business. It doesn't happen overnight, because you have to do research and you have to apply for the patent and get it approved and maybe manufacture suppliers. But he did use the Business and IP Center to actually help him. And when you think of Coca-Cola, they've been going around for so long. They have 63 patent trademarks, slogans, the things that they say. The drink itself was created in 1866. And over the years, they've used various iterations to develop their business. And even what they say, taste of feeling, it's a real thing. Be open like never before. That was 2020, so I don't know what they say now, but yeah, we'll have to check. So we're there to help you to get readers. You need a reader's pass. We have free access to databases. We have a large collection of books, not just at the British Library, but across the BIPC network. We also suggest that you track your local library, especially if you're in East London. We have help with growth stages. We have one-to-one clinics. We have expert partners. I forgot to mention the product developments. I did remember mention one, but we actually have a product developer who will actually help you prototype and price and suggest the best manufacturer. They're called bank creations. And any sort of gadgety thing, we just say, hey, you go to these guys, because we can't do that. We haven't got that industry knowledge. And there's another gentleman called Bob Lindsay, and he runs a company called Thames Production, and he used to work for manufacturing. He actually hosts our monthly Inventors Club. And these are people I think you can trust. I've been there 10 years, and they don't overcharge people. We haven't heard bad stories, and we wouldn't send our customers to a partner that's not delivering. So hopefully you'll see them. We do have coffee mornings. Unfortunately, it's online at the moment. We have Inspiring Entrepreneurs happen every quarter. So the next one is actually in 28th of June, and it's going to be on High Street Heroes. So retailers or an entrepreneur that's done really well on the high street. These are normally in our knowledge center at the British Library. The knowledge center holds about 250 people. Sometimes it's webcast to other business and IP center, and there's opportunity to network and possibly to meet those entrepreneurs as well. Some of them tend to rush off, but even like, I know her business is folded, but Ola Keeley, the designer of Mobile Awards, the Brompton bike designer, the Maid.co furniture gentleman, and lots of, obviously things like Deliciously Ella, she's food related. I do go to all of them, but when it comes to remembering them all, I can't. Even the lady who did the bow bra, so like eyebrow teasing, she actually started, she was a BA British Airways flight staff, and she went to New York, and she said, oh, these New Yorkers were actually tweezing in department stores, and she brought that idea back to the big department stores here, and the rest is history. And obviously, they're earning millions of pounds. So so these entrepreneurs do talk at our events. So, and we have things like Precious Nights, as I mentioned, the I4G Growth Club, where successful business actually mentor growing businesses. And we had the project called Startup in London Libraries, which finished earlier this year. And we're hoping to work with the Arts Council actually for our new set of Innovating for Growth programs. So the Arts Council are going to help us with the program for startups as well as scale-ups. So you can attend our webinars and get that extra support for your business. It hasn't restarted yet, but I can certainly try and remember to tell Roger about it when it restarts. And there is business mentoring on there, but it's kind of like dormant at the moment until we restart that program, hopefully funded by the art. I think it has been approved, the Arts Council. It's just that we have to restart it. And that's it. So we do offer help at the British Library if you come in. You can also send chats to us. If you want to ask me a question and you can't remember my name, you can ask generally at the Business and IP Centre. Someone will get back to you by email, or you could come in, obviously. And we do have a network of support across the UK. And that's it. And my email's there. And I can send you the slides so that you remember who I am. And I want to say thank you as well for having me today. Thank you to those online as well. I did manage to finish an hour. I wasn't sure I was going to do it, but because you gave me an hour, I didn't rush it. And I was able to say to you, yes. So thank you. Okay, sure. So the events, so all our events, we have about 30 events a month. Very basic IP to help you think about the things I've mentioned, the 4 strands or 5 strands of IP, and then we have business ones, like as I said, I do what next, business idea, business information, and social media and other things. But then we have delivery partners who do lots of workshops, so you can access those online at present, and you don't need a reader pass, you just need to book your space. A lot of them are actually free. The most you probably pay is probably, I think about £70. Our writer in residence, she charges about £70. So like how to self-publish or how to learn to blog for business and things like that. But generally they're free. Generally they're not more than £50, and you can access those events online at present. But generally we're going back to this model, a hybrid model, where we're going to have people in a room and we're going to be talking to them, and you might be able to log in online. So watch this space, and our events are actually free or not so expensive. But in terms of doing the research for all the databases I mentioned, you must need a Reader's Pass, and the Reader's Pass is free to access for anyone who's over 18. And you just need 2 forms of ID, one with a signature and one with your address. And you go to our reader register. You could pre-register online. The British Library is like a big beast, or mothership, as I should say. So it's hard to find things. But if you need to find the reader registration, pre-registration link, I could send it to you. Or you could come in and go to the reader registration team, which is on the ground floor. Say to them you want to, they ask you to fill out some details, why you want to British Library and some personal information, because the security and the rare books and things in the library. They normally give you a Reader's Pass for 3 years, and you could come in at any time. We're open Monday to Saturday. So that's something that's quite unique to us. People can actually come in on a Saturday if they want to use the resources, and we're open 8 p.m. Monday to Thursday as well. So if you have you could come in and use the space. And we do have, I don't think I've shown you any photos. There was one with me when I was talking to a gentleman. That's in our networking space. So that's outside the reading room. You can use that space to meet people and do business without a Reader's Pass. And that's open Monday to Saturday. Occasionally we have events there, and we don't, we need the space, and we might say you can't use it. But that's prime location real estate right next to St. Pancras, where you can have a meeting with someone. Obviously, we don't want 12 of you to turn up and have a big, loud, raucous meeting, but certainly if it's like 4 or 5 people, we have tables there where you can discuss things, and we have some sofas as well. So it depends on what you want. Events, online, you don't need to have a Reader's Pass. Space, you can just come in. There's always security at the British Library because it's a big, important building. But in terms of the resources, you will need a Reader's Pass. No? Yeah, send me an email if it's specific. Yeah, I'm going to be there for another few weeks and I go on holiday, but then I'm back in June, and I know I'm happy to send you stuff online. If you do have a business idea, I can certainly see you by Zoom and discuss it with you, and and uh, and see how it is. I mean, even with the Goldsmith students who came, some of them needed support and they had kind of like vague ideas, and I did see them and show them how they can navigate the services, because I was a librarian 20 odd years ago when I started the British Library, and I still needed help and support because it's quite big, and it does so many things, that you do probably need a hand to help you navigate it. Yeah. Hi. All right. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I could do it specifically for you. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is we do have a brand strategy partner, but I think they charge about £30 and they'll go through your business. And I personally haven't gone because I think they want it to be really interactive. And I don't have my own brand that I want to launch or anything, but they do specific partnership like that. But I could certainly tell you about how they can use the services and resources available and set it up as like an online course. We do lots of workshops and webinar. I know I might not be perfect online or in person, but we do it, because obviously I don't work in higher education, but we certainly know how to help people to use the resources at the British Library. Yeah, they can email me directly, and I could. It might be just be a quick email. So yeah, one of the great things I've been doing, and it's quite fresh in my mind because when I joined the British Library, my manager said to me he'd gone to um, uh, Holloway Prison for Women to discuss with prisoners their business idea, and he went because he was going to a women's prison, and my colleague, she went into the Pentonville prison, and the energies and the interaction was quite interesting. So I was, I wonder how I would cope if I went into prison. But I haven't gone into prison, but I've met lots of returning citizens in the last couple of weeks, and lots of people who work in prison reform. There's great people out there who are doing great things, and it's just blown my mind what they do and how they want to support people to get back in, and the whole social structure and prison reform systems. An artist even was there. He started doing artwork after. Obviously, there's lots of prison libraries, and I just feel so inspired because of what I've seen in the last few weeks. And they do a lot of research. I was really impressed with their pitches to drag and dance, people who can actually help them to get their businesses back on the ground. And some of them came up with some great ideas. Yeah, it's called Project Remake if you Google it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually have to go as well, so I can't stay too long. But that's our website, and the clinics are there. Sometimes you don't get them. That's why you might need to speak to me or email me directly, because it's high demand, and then also we do other jobs in like reading room duties and project work. So we don't always advertise. We can't advertise it 24/7. You have to book a room because it's private. Then we have the BIPC network, the Innovating for Growth program. That's the one the Art Council is helping us with. It's been going for 10 years, but that was EDU funded. So that's no longer happening. So we had to ask Council for money. These are the Reset and Restart workshops. Yeah, I'm more used to familiar. Yeah, there we go. And if we scroll down, sorry, no survey, thank you. I just scroll down. There's a new set of workshops on Reset and Restart. This is DCMS funded. So how to market my ideas at work, making your social media marketing play, the steps to sell with confidence. What do I need to know about digital trends, how to raise money I need now, how to use tech for business, renew your purpose. But our workshop change all the time, and I can't keep abreast of them. But I know generally, it's something or the other that that might be useful, and they're all here to be booked. As I said, they're all also different price ranges. And we have a blog at the bottom. And we do offer specialist stuff like the paid research I mentioned. Lots of law firm asking us for the intellectual property help and support. The industry guides are here. So this gives you an idea from our website whether it's worth it coming in. We have the guides on intellectual properties of copyright, patent searching, registered design, trademarking. This will all relate to you if you're creatives. And we also, the COBRA database has things about how to protect your work for the arts and crafts and how to use others. There's the art and craft resource. So if I were to click on it, there's about 25 of them. So tells you, startup information from the COBRA database. So, these are some of the things I read out earlier. And a great synopsis, mini bobs, fact sheets, overview of intellectual property rights using copyright. And then you have sections in the library, the startup books, starting at gallery and frame shops. These are books. Then market research, the databases I mentioned that might be relevant to you, arts and crafts in the UK, business journals, trade journals, and then internet sources. So have a look at these. There's about 25 of them, and I'm going to stop now because I've got to head back to the office. Okay, I hope that was okay. Thank you.